Hello and good afternoon. Para sa ating video for today, we're going to explain and present our gathered data about our research entitled
The difference in leisure time between male and female respondents, which was conducted at National University Manila in accordance with our performance task in mathematics in the modern world.
Without further ado, let's get started! Bago tayo dumako sa ating agenda for today, paano nga ba kinuha ang aming data? Ano ang mga ginamit upang makuha ito? We use Google Forms to make our survey. We also gathered a total of 20 respondents from National University Manila with 10 males and 10 females.
Note, respondents are chosen randomly. The question we ask our respondents is, on an estimated daily basis, how much do you spend on your leisure activities? Respondents are required to answer in minutes.
With the gathered data, we are able to create a problem which will be solved using the statistical test, t-test. But what is t-test? Kailan siya ginagamit?
T-test is a statistical test used to determine if there is a significant difference between the means of two groups, which may be related to each other. Meaning, ginagamit natin ito sa tuwing may gusto tayong i-compare ng mga data.
If gusto nating malaman if tumataas ba ito or bumababa or kung meron mang nagbabago sa dalawang data. For example, kung meron bang effect ang isang process or treatment sa population or kung may pinagkaiba ang dalawa sa isa't isa. That's the reason why we chose t-test. In our study, we are comparing the data we collected from the male and the female respondents. We wanted to know if there is a significant difference between them.
There are two types of t-tests, independent and paired samples.
So, paano natin malalaman kung saang type na papabilang ang research namin?
Paired samples are just one sample with two measurements. Example is yung kapag nagko-conduct tayo ng experiment and need ng before and after na data. Or if pinagko-compare mo yung scores ng students mo noong first grading and second grading. On the other hand, ang independent samples naman ay kino-compare ang same variable pero two different group of cases. Example ay ang pag-compare ng height ng boys and girls and itong research namin. So, bakit nga ba siya naging independent? Naging independent itong study namin because the sample has only one variable, which is yung time ng leisure, and then two different groups ang pinagko-compare, which is the male and female respondents.
So, when kaya pwedeng maging paired ang study namin? If we compare the students' leisure time before and after the pandemic. Going back to our collected data, paano nga ba natin siya isi-solve? First, let's read the problem. Researchers from Bachelor of Science in Nursing in NU Manila have conducted a study in order to compare the leisure time between male and female students. The data were gathered from 20 randomly selected students with 10 female and 10 male as the respondents of the study. At 0.05 level of significance, do males and females differ regarding their leisure time?
So, the tabulated data includes the leisure time of male and female in minutes. Sa male ay 360, 300, 360, 210, 180, 300, 330, 360, 315, and 300. Sa female naman ay 300, 240, 550, 240, 300, 270, 240, 300, 240, and 240. So, lahat ng yon using the Microsoft Excel, we can solve the data needed.
So, let's move on to how will we solve this problem. Of course, the first step is to input the data given sa ating Excel sheet. And alam naman natin na 2 different columns yan. So, ayan. Ayan na siya. Yung for column A, yan yung leisure time ng males. And for column B is the leisure time of the females. After it was placed sa ating Microsoft Excel, we then need to identify this, which are the null and the alternative hypothesis, kung anong tailed test ba yung gagamitin, if it is one-tailed or two-tailed, and the level of significance. Tapos, we'll compute na for the p-value. Una muna tayo sa null hypothesis. Our null hypothesis for this problem will be there is no significant difference between the males and females leisure time. So, bakit siya naging ganon? Since null hypothesis nga, the keywords are there is no significant difference or there is no significant relationship between 2 variables. And also, t-test yung problem natin, meaning we're looking for the difference between the means of 2 independent groups. Kaya, ganyan yung magiging null hypothesis natin. Si alternative hypothesis naman, it will be there is a significant difference between the males and females leisure time. And yan yung difference nila. Null and alternative, pag alternative, meron kang significant difference. Pag naman null, wala kang significant difference. Next is the tailed test. For this problem, our tailed test is two-tailed. Because walang nakalagay doon sa question natin if increase or decrease. So, ibig sabihin wala tayong specific direction. Tinanong niya lang kasi na do males and females differ in their leisure time. Therefore, it is two-tailed. Lastly is our level of significance or the alpha level. It was given in the problem na 0.05 yung level of significance natin. So, we'll follow that. Ayan. So, tapos na tayo sa mga yan. We will then compute na for the p-value. Of course, by solving this, we will use the Microsoft Excel. Una nating gagawin is we'll click on the data. So, ayan, nakaklik na siya. And, after clicking on the data, lalabas ito, si data analysis. Upon clicking the data analysis, lalabas din yung different statistical test, pero we will use the t-test to sample assuming equal variances. Pag nahanap mo na yan, you need to click it and then okay. After that, may dialog box na mag-a-appear, and for variable 1, it will be the column for the male. Yung variable 1 is A1 to A11, and yung variable 2 is B1 to B11. Ayan. Then, the hypothesized mean difference will be 0, and the alpha level, ito yan, is 0.05. If everything was inputted already, click OK again, and then lalabas yung mga values. These values, those are the answers. So, hahanapin mo yung answer mo dyan, pero wait, ayusin muna natin siya. Ayan. So, kailangan mong hanapin yung p-value. And since there are two p-value dito, which is p-value na one-tail and p-value na two-tail. That is why it is important na alam mo yung tail test mo. And since two-tailed tayo for this problem, our answer will be this one. I-copy mo yan. And then, i-paste mo siya here. It will be easier to compare. Finally, to know accept or reject the null hypothesis, ipagko-compare natin yung p-value sa level of significance. And since our p-value is greater than the alpha level, we will accept our null hypothesis. Our conclusion will then be the null hypothesis, which is there is no significant difference between the males and females leisure time. So, ayan yung magiging answer natin. Yung takeaway for this problem is we need to remember what our null and what our alternative hypotheses are, which t-tailed should we use or which tailed test should we use, and of course, we can forget our level of significance and the fact na if the p-value is greater than the alpha, we will accept the null hypothesis, which happens with this problem. And if the p-value is lesser naman, we need to reject it and use the alternative hypothesis instead. Those will all be needed in solving these kinds of problems. And that is all for this problem. I hope you were able to learn something. Thank you for watching.
Questions while making performance task 3. How did you come up with the idea?
So to start, we were deciding first on whether to choose the test of difference or the test of relationship for us to determine the type of data we should gather. Then we reflected on our learning. Are we more knowledgeable in doing this type of test than the other one? Because we need to ensure that we know what we're doing to avoid having failed or incorrect results. And that's when we finally decided to proceed with the type of test that we will use. And that is the test of difference. Next, we talked and decided on the topic that we would be using to finally start gathering and tabulating the data. And that's how we came up with the idea.
How did you plan your task?
For the next question, we planned our task by thinking of a problem first that would be best suited for the type of test difference we chose. After that, we started creating survey forms to gather the data needed. Of course, ethical considerations and safety protocols should be prioritized. That's why it was distributed online, and we made sure that the privacy of our respondents was our utmost priority. After we completed the needed data, we proceeded to choose who to distribute the task to, so that all of us would have equal participation in this task. Then, after finalizing everything, we filmed it and edited it.
Did you get any help or support other than yourself or your group mates?
We did get some support from our friends who participated in answering our survey, but other than that, we did by ourselves, and we're happy that it turned out well.
What are the challenges you encountered while doing PETA 3? As a student who juggled one task to another, one of the major challenges was time management. Because finals is approaching, heavy workloads are being assigned to us. It gets overwhelming most of the time that it's difficult to identify which task should be the priority. There's also growing pressure in gathering and formulating data because the time was limited and needs the task to be done on schedule. Another factor was unstable internet connection, which hinders on completing the activities given to us. But it all worked out and we accomplished it in the end because this is what we do. We just keep going just as time never stops for anyone.